My name's Josh Ewens. I'm the first team fitness coach here at West Ham. We've used BlazePods in a few different ways, and that's changed over time as we've become more familiar with the technology. Everything from helping the players to work at home away from the training ground via the app, and how easy it is for them to use there, and also keeping engagement and stimulating maximal intent in what they're doing in group work, keeping it different. The rehab process is always it's also been really helpful for. Well, we'd never seen anything like it, as most people hadn't. And my first thought with the sudden lockdown, and that was us as well. So the Premier League shut down, all players and staff had to work from home. So there was a busy 2 days of getting everyone gym equipment sent out, getting everyone loaded up with weights and watt bikes and treadmills and everything you could imagine. At that time, we were allowed an hour outside individually. And obviously get programs and everything sorted out and sent through to the players. It was a really challenging time. It's certainly a time that I probably learned a huge amount from. And I think the most difficult thing about it, I'm sure everyone on this panel would have found a similar thing, is that as the weeks went on, we had no definite time as to when we were coming out. So you talk about programming and S&C and conditioning, and it's all, what's the next thing you're working towards? How are you periodizing? When's the next competition period? When was the last one? And this was a period of time where there was no answers to any of those questions. So keeping players interested, keeping them focused, keeping elements of competition and variation in what they were doing was key, absolutely key. And that was where I had to be as creative as possible. And BlazePods in that instance, we just got involved with. So it was a case of me getting to understand how it worked and what it was very quickly. And certainly it was helpful in, listen, you can do a lot of different types of athletic training without BlazePods. But the one thing that the players couldn't do from home, from their front rooms, from their gardens, was big elements of cognitive load, lots of reactive drills. So it was certainly a useful thing for a few of the players in particular to start adding elements of reactivity and perceptual cognitive training into what they were doing, as opposed to just your traditional strength and conditioning training. So that was very useful. You know what, the interesting thing for me is, I think the way, having used them in that way then, the way that I'm using them currently is a little bit different, I guess. I'm using them at the moment, listen, in the Premier League, and it'll be same in most leagues, in most sports. It's relentless in terms of the amount of games that you play, and in terms of the amount of days that you're in. You easily go 3-4 weeks without a day off, and you're either in at the training ground or at a stadium every day. And my voice annoys me, let alone the players, So the way I've been using them more recently is with the group and in general, and using them to spice up what we're doing. Listen, there's loads of different things that players can react to in drills. There's loads of different things that you can do to challenge them mentally. But bright colors and good looking technology and something that's a bit new in a new setting has been working really, really well. That, and in the rehab process. So the rehab process, I've always been really interested in perceptual cognitive skills, in skill acquisition, in perception action coupling, and all these concepts. And for me, it helps to bridge a gap between on the pitch training, where you're reacting to real-time information from your opponents and from your teammates and from where the ball is, and all of the development that goes with that. But also prior to being in that environment, in the rehab process, being able to add in bits of uncertainty, bits of unanticipated movements, chaos into what they're doing, to sort of bridge that gap between one and the other, And one thing that I think that we've noticed is that players who are, when you put them through the speed gates, when you put them through acceleration tests, when you put them through any pre-planned power or speed drill, the players that are fastest through that are often the slowest at the reaction element of other tasks, right? So there's this trade-off, as if you are really quick and really fast, you've not had to develop really quick reaction times to compete on the same level as other players who are physiologically, in terms of their speed and power, nowhere near what they are, but have unbelievable reaction and decision-making qualities. And it's like in a game sport like football, where there's so many variables and so much going on, and you have such a range of skill sets in different players in different positions with different strengths and weaknesses. I think that I've seen this trade-off between, as they've developed and become professional, they've not, if they've not needed to, they've not developed that to its best. And that might be a little window of opportunity to further improve those players. It's interesting that idea of spotting potential would be incredibly useful, obviously, in the Premier League as well, where you've got the big 3 or 4 clubs who can pay to get the players that are optimal in all areas, and then you've got the clubs below who can't afford that, and they're looking for the diamonds. They're looking for the diamonds in the rough, the players who you spot as having high potential in any way. If you can objectify or measure that in any way, whether it's the visual side of it or whatever, then it's absolute, it's gold dust, isn't it? The interesting thing for me is how much is too much is one question. The other question is, look, experience in playing the sport you're playing, real time, whether that's a training game or a competitive game, is going to be training all of these things, right? Your perception, your information, scanning, your ability to make decisions, whether they're wrong or right in the moment, and to do that quickly. I think where this is particularly useful, and I don't know if this answers your question or not, is that they can only do that. You can only do that tough physical task for a certain amount of time in the day, right? That's the thing that's particularly limited for me. You can't train for 6 hours, games and scenarios. You can't do it. And that's where, when you're looking for those extra percentages, this sort of technology or research or these sorts of types of training can really become useful. It's to stop doing too much of the actual training in terms of the 90-minute sessions that they'll do every day or whatever. It's to stop overdoing that, but still develop these qualities that we know differentiates between top elite performers and sub-elite performers.